Hey, I'm Mike from Retro Boost, and today we're taking another foray into the world of retro gaming enhancement. I've talked about video enhancement / line doubling devices like RetroTINK and Insurrection Industries' CARBY before, but today we're going to be looking at the cables that run from your console. So there's two stages of improvement you can get from your old consoles. The most simple way to do it is to get a device like, say, a RetroTINK 2X Pro or 2X Pro M or 5X Pro, depending on what you own, or if you have a GameCube, Insurrection Industries CARBY. But the other layer comes from the video cables themselves. If I like what the 5X Pro, for example, does for me, what can I do to make that better? Well, I could seek to improve the cables that run from the console itself. Game consoles use all kinds of things. Most consoles of the older days used Composite, the red, white, and yellow cables that you're so used to seeing, and then support for a component gradually opened up. You got S-Video mixed in there as well. So basically you got Composite is the most basic, S-Video is a step up, components usually the best that you can usually do for most situations. Consoles such as the PlayStation 2, the Xbox, the Wii, they support Composite and component being better of the two. You can find S-Video cables for like N64, PS1, SNES, makes them a little bit better than composite, sorry, it's so similar of a word. But what if I want to really take it even further? What can I do? Well, you'd have to get some kind of custom-made cable, because for a lot of these game consoles, they were only ever designed to work with composite. You know, you don't see anything else. There are brands like HD Retrovision that make these custom-made component cables for consoles like the Super Nintendo and the Genesis, but I'm looking at PlayStation 1 today, because this is one console that I haven't done a lot of detailed work on the channel yet, and I found something pretty interesting. The PACKAPUNCH Pro RGB SCART cable, designed by the good folks at Retro Gaming Cables UK, which is a site that I've dealt with a lot before. I used them to get the parts I needed to get my Extron matrix switcher up and running, and it worked great. They make an RGB cable for PlayStation 1, which RGB is a lot better than composite, and the price for the cable wasn't too bad. So I'm going to check it out today. The main reason being that since I got a 5X Pro, I've opened up the ability to use SCART input devices and sources now, which is very, very exciting. So we're going to take a look at what this SCART cable can do for the PlayStation 1. We'll kind of go over what RGB is and why you'd want it versus composite. Show a side-by-side of the two, just show some gameplay examples, and have a good time. If you find the video helpful or informative, please consider subscribing. It is the best way to help me grow the channel, but I do appreciate you watching regardless. Let's dive in. Before we jump into the comparisons and the individual clips, let's quickly go over the differences of what makes RGB SCART special compared to composite, because it is a massive improvement, and here's why. Composite, you got red, white, and yellow. Yellow is used for your video information, and red and white's used for audio, broken up between left and right channels. So you got yellow video, and then left and right audio for the red and the white. Easy enough. Now RGB SCART internally has the video information separated between separate lines, red, green, and blue. Hey, RGB. That's interesting. It's almost why it's called that. So it separates the video information, which is a much more efficient way to process it, because now everything can happen in higher clarity, better detail. Everything is processed much more cleanly. That's the objective. Separate it to process it more effectively, which is what, say, Component does too. Component's the same idea. The video information is spread out across multiple channels as opposed to being forced into one. And that opens up the possibilities for higher quality video formats, higher quality overall looking end product. So as opposed to one video line, you've got multiple. There's the red, green, and blue, plus the synchronization and your audio all inside this cable, and they're individually shielded, which is a nice bonus because that protects from external interference. It also prevents the cables from cross-talking to each other. A lot of benefits there. So overall, the construction is better, and this unique product by Retro Gaming Cables having shielding is higher quality. So that we know the basic differences, there are more, but that's just the really, really, really simple overview of the whole concept. Now that we got that figured out, let's check it out, because what's the point of buying this thing if it doesn't look better, right? Well, here's a side-by-side example, two side-by-side examples actually. One of Croc, something that's very, very bright and vivid, comparing the two, and then one of Metal Gear Solid, something a little bit more dark and, you know, that modern brown and gray kind of thing going on. So two different examples of two very, very different looking games to see what RGB does compared to Composite. So as those side-by-sides showed, there is a clear difference between the two. Operating word being clear. The RGB version of the same game was much clearer, more vivid, the color popped a lot more. It's impressive how much of a jump that cable can make, all from the same console. No modding required, just get this cable. Like, that was really, really cool. I've tried other games with it as well, like Spyro the Dragon, Spyro 2 specifically. I like Spyro 2, it's one of my favorites. And then Mega Man X, both of these games also looked spectacular from this cable. It is worth noting that like with Metal Gear, there was like that like flavor added by the RGB cable, these like the diamond pattern as I describe it here. That didn't bother me. I noticed it. Wasn't really a concern for me personally. It wasn't like too intense that it was a distraction, but I noticed it. So that happened on the RGB version, didn't happen in the composite version. Interesting. It didn't do that to the other games. So something about Metal Gear Solid's graphics, I guess. Not sure what causes that, but I didn't find it to be a detraction personally. If you do, fair, it's totally fair. So all in all, awesome cable, made a big difference. I was using the 5X Pro for this. There are other devices you can use that do the same kind of thing. Like I mentioned before, there's other ways to do it. The 5X Pro is one of my favorite ones to date, but there are cheaper options as well. Like RetroTINK does have like a dedicated SCART like 2X Pro you can get. So there are other ways to enjoy a similar experience. So very, very cool. The price of this cable was also a lot better than many of its cousins. This was about $45 US dollars to do this guy, whereas many of the other ones are a lot more, a little bit more, it just depends. So I thought I would jump in with this one, see how it goes, and if I like it, I'll try out the other ones, and I liked it. So I've got a Nintendo one coming shortly that I'll do a video on. It's for the Super Nintendo, so we'll check that out down the road. Definitely subscribe if you want to get notifications for when that day comes along. But regardless, I do appreciate you checking out the video. Hope you found it informative. All of you have a great rest of your day.